Hi, I'm Dave Wurzel, and you're watching PHTV4 Spotlight. Today's Spotlight is on Pathlights, and I'm going to make sure I want to get this exactly right. Very important organization in our community, an organization dedicated to assisting individuals over 60 with services needed to live with independence and dignity in their community. And we're very fortunate. We have with us today Christine Sudreth, who is the Manager of Manager of Community Relations for Pathlights. Okay, thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, no, I'm glad. So we're going to talk about the services and what Pathlights can do for people. Before we get to that, can you talk about yourself? You've been with Pathlights for a while now, right? Your background with them, what you do?
I've been with Pathlights since 2011, and I've always been in a community outreach or community relations role since I started. And I came from with a teaching background, so I do have a master's in education. So I went from second grade, sixth grade to older adults. So it was kind of a nice parlay. So I'm out there teaching older adults about services at this point.
I like that jump from like a little 8, 9, 10, 12 to 60 plus.
60 plus.
All right. So how about then Pathlights specifically? You've been on. We've had other guests from Pathlights, but maybe as a quick refresh, what does Pathlights do? What types of services do they offer for people?
So our mission is to keep people in their home as long as it's safely possible. And we do that through a variety of means. And we want to make sure that people are getting the information before they need it. That's the biggest goal. And that's one of the reasons that we truly appreciate being asked to provide information via Channel 4. So with that being said, we have services that are needs-based and others that are means tested. And what I mean with that is if you needed Meals on Wheels or home delivered meals as we call them to be able to stay in your home, if simply having access to nutritional food, we can get the home delivered meals in place if you're not able to provide that nutrition for yourself. In terms of means tested, some of our programs are based on assets, not income. So we have an asset limit, and that is not set up by us. We don't make the rules, we just have to follow them. So when I talk about means tested, we always encourage people, no matter what the need, call. So if you're caregiving for somebody and you need assistance, that program has no means testing. But we do look at, are you home with somebody who needs 24/7 care? Do you need a break? We can offer respite services, things like that.
No, you're talking about the caregiver.
The caregiver. If you're living independently and you don't have a caregiver, but with somebody coming in for a few hours a week, you would be able to stay in your home. That's the goal. And if your assets are dwindling to the point where you really can't afford to hire a home care agency, we would be able to work through state and federal programs and get something like that implemented for you. So you would have a professional caregiver coming from an outside agency that is licensed and overseen by the state coming in, and we would be the care manager. So we would look at the case, we would do all of the qualifying paperwork and assessments, and then we would stay with you and try and meet your needs along the way.
So, I mean, as an example, then in my head I'm thinking, because I am on the plus side of 60 now, if I got to a point where, let's say, driving became a problem and I need to, because I want to ask about the specific types of things a person might need, because I imagine there's a really wide range here, right?
Yes.
I just need to be able to get to the store to get groceries once in a while. Like I can still cook in my home. I'm able to manage myself that way, but I need to get to the store, whether for groceries or clothing or maybe to go to church or whatever the thing is. I mean, Pathlights, are they existing at that end as well?
Transportation is one of the major concerns in our area because a lot of the towns and townships can no longer afford to host the buses. We do not have a transportation program, but when you call us, we do have what's called an information and assistance area. So you would be transferred to the assistance area and we would look around and see, all right, are you a member maybe of a faith community? Can that faith community provide transportation to and from a religious service? Does the township have something? I know that Worth Township is doing a pilot program with PACE where they have vans instead of the buses. If that rolls out, we're hoping that other entities will pick it up as well so that our area is covered.
So it sounds like, and I guess in my mind is kind of a clarity thing, but to understand, somebody shouldn't be concerned about, well, I don't think they'll be able to help me with this, because even if it's a service you
Exactly.
don't provide, you're going to get them to the service or the source to get the help they need.
Yes, and we have a very cohesive staff. So I would say 2-3 times a week we will get an all-staff email saying, does somebody know somebody who will do this? And because I'm in community outreach with my coworker Rogine, we're in the community, we oftentimes can source something to fulfill a need that is being asked for of others on the staff that we don't provide directly.
Okay. Then how about what are some of the services you do provide in addition to finding the help that somebody needs if you can't specifically provide that thing?
Sure. So we do have, like I said, the program that we have for people who are 60 and over who are not able to stay at home without some type of assistance. Maybe it's errand running, cooking, cleaning, bathing. We would be able to work with them and have a caregiver in place who would come in and assist them with those things. And that simple amount of help can keep them where they are. They can age in place. It's healthier for the community and it's healthier for the person if they're able to do that. We look at how isolated they are. So again, that's also a way to provide conversation, somebody coming in from the outside. With that program though, that is means tested. So they will look at your assets. We will also be able to do benefits and advocacy. That department in where we are is booming. We do rely on a lot of volunteers who are specifically trained. They will look at things like your Medicare D program. Is it the correct one for you? Because people who feel obligated to stay with an insurer just because they've had them for a while oftentimes don't realize how much they're paying. So our top number this current year was a difference when somebody came in and talked with our SHIP counselor, that's Senior Health Insurance Program counselor. Their difference in what they would pay out of pocket over a year for just medications was $77,100.
Oh my gosh.
And in the past, we've had somebody who was over $100,000. So he just stopped taking his medications. And we don't want somebody getting sick because of something like that. We also do Medicaid applications. We do benefit access, which is an $11 license plate renewal. So sometimes staying in your home may mean there's a financial pinch, but if we look at these support programs and you can get a little bit from this and a little bit from this, then you would be able to stay in your home comfortably. At property tax time, we also are a place where you can come in and we would do the senior deferral, make sure you have the senior exemption, work on you with programs like that.
It seems then that the best thing to do would be if I'm a senior, I have a question almost about anything, at least contact Pathlights and maybe you'll have the direct or you'll put me in touch with somebody who has this.
Absolutely. And if you're not a senior, call us and see what else we have if you have concerns, because we are an adult protective service investigation site as well. And we are licensed through the state of Illinois for that, trained by the state. It's an extensive training, but we have case managers who will go to the home. We work with all of the police, fire, any first responders in an area. Building departments are a wonderful source for us because they'll check on a home and see that someone needs assistance. And for the financial programs and for adult protective, we also work with people with a disability age 18 and over.
Okay. So it sounds like, I mean, the range of services Pathlights provides is pretty broad. I mean, there's a lot, and somebody shouldn't hesitate. If they have any question, they're like, no, I don't know if they do this. No, contact them.
Exactly, and we rebranded a few years ago. We were formerly Plows Council on Aging, but we're Pathlights because we want to guide you on the path to aging. You don't have to need the services. You don't have to have a direct connection to us, but if you've got a question about yourself or anybody else, just give us a call, come to some of our presentations, and we'll get you on the road to where you need to be.
And as you said earlier, to do this at the front end, I would imagine you don't want to get into where you're in a situation or in a problem and you're struggling trying to figure out, well, what do I do here? You can still get help at that point, but
exactly,
probably a much better place if you were in front of it, headed on the right path, right?
Yeah, there's nothing, I think it's so frustrating when we go somewhere and there's nothing more upsetting than hearing, where were you when my parents needed you? Well, we've been around for 49 years. It's just getting the word out and listening to what we have to say, even though you are determined that you do not need this, that my parents will not need this, because you never know what the situation might entail.
And maybe that's a really good transition into May is coming up.
It is.
Older
Yes,
American,
yes, yes, yes,
Older
yes.
Americans Month. what does that mean? Well, tell us what Pathlights does with that dedicated month.
Sure. So it's really important that as a community we recognize the value of the older adults in our community. And notice we don't say seniors. We're not senior services. We do provide services for older adults because the connotation of a senior is somebody who is sitting on their front porch waving to the neighbors, whereas an older adult is out and active in the community. And that's really what we want to stress for everybody, because the theme this year is Powered by Connection, and the Administration for Community Living sets that every year, and then they put out some materials and that would support their title. So Powered by Connection, we took that and we want to make sure that people are re-engaging. When COVID came along and people were isolated, we're finding they're having a very difficult time going back to the clubs that they belonged in. And if that club happened to shut down because of lack of membership, we've got these older adults who are hesitating to go to other clubs. So join something in the community, and you should ask a friend. If you are going somewhere and you're getting something out of it, whether it just be the socialization or the education, it's a fun activity, invite somebody to go with you and be persistent and make sure that they're engaging in the community. And if it's something that they feel they don't need the education on, just remind them. You don't know if you're going to need it, and it might be something you haven't experienced before and you'll enjoy.
It sounds like a great reason to go to any of the which is what I'm going to ask you about next, like some of the events or programs you have coming up in the next couple of months. Go find out. You may not need it, but at least you have the ability to make that decision, right? Like I can decide because now I have that knowledge, right? So we have that month coming up. Can you tell us a little bit, like give us a sample of what are some of the types of events or programs that people might attend or sign up for heading into late spring here, early summer? So
this year we really made a push to cover the areas that we serve. We cover 20 towns, so Payless, Lamont, Orland, and Worth townships in Cook County. Any town that is within those parameters we serve. However, for our programs, anyone from anywhere can attend, so we encourage people to do that. Again, bring somebody with who might need the news. We have several legal presentations because we're finding there are a lot of questions out there. People who did a will or a trust 20 years ago and haven't followed up on it. We want to make sure they know what the changes are. How are the laws affecting this? How are the tax laws affecting it? So the agreement that we do have with our professional presenters is if you come to do this presentation, it needs to be knowledge-based, and they are not allowed to solicit. They can hand out something, but you're not going to have to sign in a card that we give to them where they'll be calling and calling and calling. So it's a nice way to ease into it. We do find that there are so many questions out there. We have one of our legal presenters does a follow-up saying, okay, I've got this in place. What's next? How do I talk to my family? How do I re-engage with them? We're working a lot with caregivers. So we have presentations. A lot of them are self-care for the caregiver, but also we have a phenomenal presenter who will be with us twice this year, and we did a program with her last year. She talks about what happens if I'm caring for somebody and we lose verbal communication. How do I know why that person is upset? How do I know how to make things better? Maybe they're not eating because they have a toothache. Maybe it's too hot. Maybe swallowing is an issue. So she goes through the body language, and she also talks about her personal experience with caregiving. So it's very meaningful and it's very real. It's not textbook based. It's based on what she went through and what she learned afterward. Yeah. We've got tools for aging in place. So we're going to have a program on balance and health. And it's going to have talks about keeping your home safe, minor things you can do, and then some exercises. So it's a physical therapist who will talk about doing this exercise and this. And it's nothing very strenuous, but it's to make sure that you can continue the activities of daily living. And then we're going to follow that up with a home modification company. Because a lot of times people say, well, I'm going to be able to stay in my home. It's 3 stories, but I'm just going to get those chair lifts. They have no idea what they cost. They don't know what the limitations are. How much physical strength do you need to get in and out of it? So we're working with reputable companies that we've known for a long time, and we'll be bringing them in. So this is the first time we're doing a dual program with these 2 companies. We're going to be doing, like I said, some understanding caregiver stress. How do you deal with that? We've got a Prepare to Care legal event. So if you're a caregiver, What should you be looking for with your loved one? What should they have in place? What does it mean if I have power of attorney? What are my rights and responsibilities? Because the responsibility part can be forgotten. And am I allowed to say, no, I don't want to take on this responsibility? Because when you're power of attorney for healthcare, you are making decisions for that person's long-term well-being. If you're power of attorney for their finances, you have to be trustworthy enough to have access to their bank accounts, to be able to call their insurance. You need to have time in your day to sit on the phone and talk to their insurance and help them work through the programs. So we do have quite a few programs coming up, a wide range. You can check out our website, and if you're not web savvy, you can look for papers that we're putting around that have our monthly event list, so you can give us a call to find out about them as well.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, call, right? If you can't handle the internet, you can
Absolutely.
call Pathlights.
We don't want that to be a barrier.
And I think you hit on another big part, that you offer a variety of services for older Americans, but you do offer things to the caregivers who are working with those people, family members or friends, or who are involved in that, experience in that process. One other question I want to ask you: where else can individuals go to get information about some of these things? You said to check your website.
Check our website, which is, make sure it says Pathlights with an S at the end, .org, because we are a non-profit organization. They can call us. We have a one number, 708-361-0219. That gets you all the information you need. And you can look around town, because we do put our paperwork over at the city halls where people pay bills. We go to the currency exchanges. The financial program criteria, we have those at the currency exchanges in the area, because a lot of people go in there, and we have worked with the currency exchange employees. They'll actually pull someone aside and say, hey, I think you can use Pathlights. So word of mouth is a lot of it. If you hear something about us and you know somebody may need something, go to them and share it with them.
Okay. And you also put out a newsletter, I believe, right?
We do put out a newsletter. Yes, we do that every other month.
The Journey?
The Journey is not our newsletter. The Journey comes out once a year.
Oh, that's
so
your
our
magazine.
Newsletter will be out, but we have a magazine, yes.
Okay, so a monthly newsletter and then a yearly magazine.
Once a year for Older Americans Month, yes.
Okay.
So we renamed it Journey. The first one, we had it branded as an Older Americans Month magazine. But then we realized, okay, younger adults are not going to pick this up, but there may be something valuable in here, and they should take it home and give it to somebody who is homebound, whether it be a neighbor or a relative.
Okay. All right, good. A lot of information. I mean,
Yes.
a lot of very important information on a variety of things for people to get help.
Yes, and the one that I did fail to mention, well, two that I failed to mention, we do have a program for people who are 55 and older who are raising a minor child who is not their child by birth. So if you took in a relative, a neighbor, and you're raising that child, we do have a program. Formerly it was grandparents raising grandchildren. Now it's adults over 55 raising a child.
Okay. I listen to you talk about all these things. It reminds me like the teacher in class who says there's no bad questions.
Right.
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 I don't know if I should ask that. No, really.
Raise that hand.
Raise the hand. Contact Pathlights, any question, and obviously you'll direct or guide them to
Yes.
however.
And if somebody has an organization that meets regularly, they can call us and we'll come in and do what's called Pathlights 101. So it's an overview of all our services. We just had a very successful one. It was a group in Orland at a church who wanted us to come to their senior club or older adults club. And then they decided that this was important for the community. They opened it up to the community, and we had 70 people show up in the evening. We're willing to work, we'll do a 6 or 7 o'clock presentation so that people who are working through the day but need this or need to bring an older adult to hear it will also be able to attend.
All right. Well, Christine, thank you very much.
Thank you.
A lot of great information, a lot of important information. And also we have Older Americans Month coming up.
Yep, celebrate aging.
Okay.
We're all aging, right?
Yeah, no, that's the one direction we're headed in, right?
Yes.
And we want to get there and enjoy our life in the process.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thanks again.
Thank you.
I'm Dave Wurzel. You've been watching PHTV4 Spotlight. Today's Spotlight has been on the Pathlights organization. Thank you for watching.